I don't want to die. Where's Katherine?
Katherine?
Atlus is primarily known for RPGs, but the publisher's latest game charts new territory. Katherine is the product of an odd coupling, pairing the story and social simulation aspects of the Persona series with puzzle-solving sequences reminiscent of Q*bert. Does it have the makings of a sleeper hit, or is this relationship doomed to failure?
Just so long as you never think of cheating on me.
Cheating?
I think I'm pregnant.
Narrative takes center stage in Katherine, which tells the twisted tale of a man caught up in a deadly love triangle. Faced with looming life decisions like marriage and parenthood, protagonist Vincent wants nothing more than to escape the growing pains of his relationship. That's when the woman of his dreams falls into his lap, and before he knows it, he's caught up in a violent whirlwind of events. The writing hooks you in, and what would otherwise be a simple plot is turned on its head with the addition of the supernatural and demonic elements that are a staple of Atlus games. The outcomes you experience depend solely on the actions and choices you make over the course of the game, whether it's simply answering questions or interacting with various characters. Choices aren't always as simple as black and white, typically straying into moral gray areas. This is a game that wants you to get intimately acquainted with your environment, and the characters are genuinely believable. Though you're free to ignore many of the narrative elements, those who put forth the effort will get more out of the game.
Seriously, tonight is not a good time for me. I had really bad diarrhea.
Hey, what's this long hair?
Katherine's certainly full of lengthy cinematic sequences, but there's plenty of action as well. You'll spend your time at your favorite local hangout where you can move around and interact with characters and objects like your cell phone. There's more to it than simply just striking up a conversation at random. Time constantly moves here, and patrons will come and go as the night progresses. Catching certain characters will open up new side stories, and by listening to their plights, you can alter their fates as well. It's all similar to the social simulation elements you've seen in other Atlus games, albeit slightly watered down. You'll also spend a good deal of time in Vincent's nightmares, where you'll have to scale increasingly complex towers of blocks to reach their pinnacles within a time limit. It starts off as a simple game of pushing and pulling blocks to form stairs up the wall, but as you progress, new variables like traps and enemies are thrown at you to increase the challenge. These obstacles are perilous, but you can obtain items to gain a temporary advantage. On the easier difficulty settings, you can undo recent actions if you're in a bind and try again, but even with this aid, making it to the top alive is quite the challenge.
I made it! Here I go!
If you've mastered the game on the most difficult settings, you can try out the more challenging Babel mode, where you can scale randomly generated levels and compare your best times with others via the online leaderboards. While the online component doesn't extend beyond the leaderboards, you are given the opportunity to tackle Babel mode with a friend cooperatively, or go head-to-head in Coliseum mode. Having to take another player into consideration mixes up the action and adds to the already frantic nature of the game.
Player 1 wins.
Don't you get it? You're cursed too. It's revenge. For betrayal.
Revenge?
Since you'll spend the bulk of your time in Katherine advancing dialogue and picking your way through moral dilemmas, the bulk of the action is in the puzzle sequences. Moving blocks around to form structures sounds simple enough, but wrapping your head around the more advanced strategies takes patience and focus. Certain characters will share tips with you in the form of short videos giving you visual references that clue you into what to expect in the coming levels, but there's still a substantial learning curve. The tactics you'll employ are intuitive and varied, and there's a lot of strategy involved in successfully traversing each level. Vincent's a bit jumpy, so you'll have to take care when moving him along blocks to avoid careless mistakes. It's a bit of a pain to control him when he's hanging from a ledge, especially when he's on the flip side of the level. It's also way too easy to inadvertently push blocks into undesired positions, which usually results in disaster.
No way!
Despite these small control issues, the puzzle portions are quite clever and addicting. There's usually no single right way to tackle a level, though you are rewarded for being quick and efficient. Racing against the clock while avoiding traps and dodging enemies results in a thrilling and heart-pounding experience, one you seldom get in puzzle games. Katherine's flamboyant visuals make you feel like you're watching an anime at times. The game doesn't hold to its highest standards consistently throughout the experience though, often relying on its over-the-top art direction to get by. The way the game mixes 2D and 3D animation stands out at first, but it's a short-lived novelty. The soundtrack comes with an assortment of catchy pop, jazz, and remixed classical tracks that never get old, and the voice work, while rough in a few spots, will make you forget there's no option for Japanese audio with subtitles.
You're not really gonna try and play dumb now, are you? After all you've done to my body, night after night?
I just opened this.
Katherine is quite unlike anything else out there. It's a game that pushes back and challenges you to think on your feet. If the confounding puzzles don't hook you, the branching variable story and the steamy nightmarish vibe certainly will.